something, did you find that the person that you was sitting beside, y'all had some stuff in common?
We sure.
And did you also learn something about the person that you was sitting beside that you probably had no idea about? Yeah. Okay, so basically, all this all had to do with teamwork, still understanding the people that you work with or the person that you work with. There's some things you may know about them, then again, there may be some things you don't know about them. So that's what this was all about. So we're gonna actually go through a video. This video was courtesy of Community Footprints from the Ritz-Carlton. And so it's all talking about the power of teamwork. So of course, we did our nice little icebreaker as we went on, and then we can go to the overview. And the basic thing is, what is teamwork? And why are teams essential to success? And then what makes a team successful? So those are the things that we really, really talk about, you know, as we go along. Okay, so here we are. Teamwork and geese. Fact one, do you know why geese fly in a V formation?
To stay together.
Okay, you say to stay together, what else?
Deter,
To do what?
deter enemies. She said to get to the
Deter
other side.
enemies. No, those are chickens. What else? Anybody else?
Guess they all have a job to do.
They all have a job to do.
Yeah.
Okay, one of the main reasons that they fly in V formation is number one, to conserve energy.
Okay.
What happens when that first geese is in the front and he's flapping his wings, he's creating a vortex of wind that shifts back to the ones behind him. That shifts back to the next one, and the next one, and the next one. So it all keeps them in sync. Because have you ever noticed that when geese are flying, they're all flying in unison?
Yeah.
So that helps them. The other part to that, it also helps them keep an eye on each other. Because if I'm right behind you, I can't really see everything, but if I'm kind of spread out in the V, I can still see what's in front of me. So that's the main thing when we talk about, once again, teamwork. You have to be able to have teamwork in order to do that. So in front, the one that's in front is usually the strongest. And they do all the hard work, but it leads the flock, and it also helps, that one expends the most energy. So that's what that lead goose does. So then, okay, this is my next question. What happens when a goose falls out of formation?
Messes up formation.
It messes up everything?
Throw off everything.
It throws off everything? What else?
Their task may not be completed.
Say it again.
Their task may not be completed.
The task may not be completed. Okay, so what this is telling us, if it falls out of rotation, the drag and the resistance it gives it, as they say, it gives it drag and resistance of flying alone. It's harder for it to fly alone than it is to fly together in formation. That's one of the things. And so then they quickly move back into formation. And that's to help with the advantage of that lifting power once again. Because like I said, if the first goose is flapping its wings and you've got that air going and that vortex going and it helps the next ones and the next one and the next one, somebody falls out, it throws off that line. And that makes it hard, you know, for everything. So that's why it's better for them to get back, you know, into formation, okay? All right, third thing. What happens when a lead goose gets tired?
Everyone else slows down.
Everyone else?
Slows down.
Everyone else slows down? Okay, well, what else? You think?
The second strongest goose goes to the front.
You're right. It rotates.
That's what I was.
Didn't say which one, but you might be right. Might be the second one. I don't pay attention. So what happens? It rotates in the wings, and another goose takes over. So it pays to share leadership. So that's one of the things that we talk about. If you're working in a classroom and you're working together, it pays to share the leadership. All of it's not on one person. You know, we got to be able to do that. And you take turns doing what we call the hard jobs. So it's not always one person is serving the lunch. It's not always one person is changing diapers or pull-ups or whatever. It's not one person who's serving lunch. It's we all work together to do exactly what needs to be done. So I'm gonna go back to number 2, and the basic lesson to that, as we were talking about, if we have as much sense as a goose, we stay in formation. those headed where we wanna go. So if we are all in unison deciding exactly how we wanna best work with children, we gotta all be on the same page. It can't be, today I want to do this with the children, but somebody else wants to do something else. So we all gotta be in the same place, otherwise we fall out of formation, and you're not getting along and agreeing with each other. Because nobody said that you really, really had to always get along, because we know that doesn't happen, but we gotta sit down and have a compromise to it. So when those geese are flying, they are making sure that somebody takes the lead and we follow. And when that one has to fall out of formation, or that one gets tired, then the next person comes in, the next goose comes in and takes over, and we go from there. So that's why, we do what we do. So, the fourth thing, why do geese honk when flying in formation?
Morale,
Mm-hmm.
build morale, get to know each other, keep each other going.
To keep each other going. Okay, they're communicating. What else? Give me one more.
Like a warning?
As a warning. Okay, what happens is they honk to encourage each other. So that noise that you're hearing when they are flying and they are honking, they are encouraging the ones that is in front of them to keep going. So who knew, right? So encouraging that one to keep the speed up. So what we look for are words of support and inspiration. Those things help to energize those in the front lines. So I'm not saying that every 2 minutes you gotta tell the teacher, oh, you're doing a fantastic job. No, we compliment each other by saying, that was a really, really good lesson that the children did and they really, really enjoyed it. Or, that's a great idea that you have, that we can do this with the children. So that's what it's all about. It's all about that encouragement. And so we look at honking as encouragement. So when we talk and when we say things to the children, think of yourself as a goose and say, yeah, I might be honking to you, but I'm really, really trying to encourage you in what you're doing. So that's what we want to do. And, what it's telling us, that it's a reward and a challenge and a privilege to be a contributing member of the team. So those are the things that we somewhat think about, as we go along. So that's extremely important. So, and then number 5, what happens when a goose gets sick or wounded? Somebody said it dies? Take a wild guess.
They all stop. Flailing.
Okay, you say they all stop.
They pick each other up, kind of.
They pick each other up. What else?
They keep going.
They keep going. What happens is 2 fall out of formation and they follow the injured one, if it's injured, down to the ground. And what they do is they're there for help and support. They will stay with that goose till it gets better, or until it dies, if that's the case. So what we're looking at is when one of us is down, it's up to the others to stand by us. So we need to stand by each other. Not necessarily say, well, you do your thing and I'm gonna do mine, because I really don't care how you feel. We're not gonna do that. We are there to lift each other up, as it says. You stand by them. So we stand by each other when things get tough. Because sometimes, as Nina was talking about it, sometimes when you're in the classroom, it may be a difficult day because children may be crying, or something may have happened at home. Mommy didn't put the favorite tennis shoes on that the child wanted, or they didn't get that kiss that they were supposed to get, or they wanted Fruit Loops this morning, but instead they got Apple Jacks. I don't know. So we look at, we don't want that to set us off, but what we want to do is help lift each other up to understand and stay with that person to say, okay, I know this is difficult right now, but let's see how we can make this better. So that's, one of the things, that we actually kind of keep and think about in place and everything. So when we look at these 5 lessons that we just talked about, these are the 5 things that we actually look at. We look at individuals who share a common direction and they can achieve their goals quicker and easier. It is so much better to work together than working separately, because we are in this together. It's not about what I want, it's all about what's right for the children. The second thing is accepting others' help and support and extending your help and support to others. There's nothing wrong with asking for help, and there's nothing wrong for asking for someone's support, and also gathering their ideas to things. You know, it could be something that you never thought about as far as an activity for children to do that your co-teacher may have come up with, or someone may have suggested to you. You know, so we want to be open to try those things. And then when we do, you can say, you know, whether it's from Nina, whether it's from me, whether it's from Gail, anybody, if we have a suggestion of something, we just ask you to try it. If it doesn't work, I don't have a problem. I don't think anybody else has a problem. Say, you know what, that idea you told us about, that was the dumbest thing you could have ever told me, because it certainly didn't work. You know, our feelings are not hurt. But what we want to do is to be able to offer that help and support, and that's what we're here for, to offer that help and support. The other part of that is a group of people who are interdependent on each other's skills, capabilities, talents, and resources. Everybody comes to the table and within your classroom with different skills. Someone may be much better at thinking about creative art activities, and then someone else may be better at reading stories. So we rely on each other to pull on those strengths to be able to do what needs to be done, and use those skills to say, well, this is how I do this. Or I see that you read that story to them and it was so animated and it was so good. Can you do that other story, and I'll do this over here. You know, that's how we want to do. So that's all a part, once again, of working with teamwork. The other part of that is consistent encouragement and feedback. We are here to encourage each other, to see how we can best do what we need to do, and especially when it comes to, when we talk about encouragement and feedback, and I always say constructive feedback, not criticism. I'm giving you something constructive that you'll be able to use, whether it's helping children to understand new language, helping children to be in tune with following directions, and we know that the little ones that's a hard thing for them. And as adults, we need to keep in mind that when we ask you children to do stuff, it's gonna take them a while to get in that little brain. I was reading somewhere that you really have to wait at least 15 seconds before you ask a child to do something else when you've already asked them one thing, because they have to process it. And it takes them a while, you know, and if they don't understand it, it may be the wording that we use. So let's go back and think about, how can we reword that where they really, really understand what we're talking about? You know, so that's one of the things we look at. And then we're also looking at standing by each other in difficult times, as well as when we are strong. Now, we all know, we all have issues. Everybody's got something going on, but park it at the door. Pick it up when the kids go home. That way, and like Nina was saying, if there's an issue you need to step away, then step away. Years ago, when I was working in childcare, and all my teachers would come to me complaining about stuff because I was the director, I said, excuse me, I need a minute. I would walk outside and walk to the stop sign. I don't care how cold it was, no coat, no nothing. You gotta go out there and just do a woosah. Or if anybody's seen Bad Boys, remember when Martin Lawrence was woosahing with his ears? Do something that's gonna say, okay, I need to just get myself together because this is for the betterment and the goodness, you know, of this child. So that's, you know, what we're kind of looking at with that. So when we're looking at, actually, I'm gonna stay right there. Stay right there. When we are looking at working together as a team, what you want to do is create your own dream team. What's going to work for your team may not work for somebody else's. So you put yourself together and you know, think about the things that, like we did with the scavenger hunt, things that you have in common. How can we use those things to our advantage where we get to know each other? So, you know, that way you'll be able to work, you know, a whole lot easier. You want to engage in all kinds of activities, interactive activities, you know, and do things, you know, as a group. So the first thing when we're talking about creating a cohesive team and working together, have an agreement between you. You know, this is how we want to work our class. So there's no surprises, and then something goes on, you'll say, oh, didn't I tell you that this is what we were gonna be doing? No, I can't read your mind, so I wouldn't know. So we wanna create that team. Create a classroom, a child-focused classroom. It's all about the children, not what we want. And I always tell you, and I kind of mix that in with the environment, take a walk around your classroom on your knees. And you see what a child sees. If stuff is too high on the walls, nobody wants to be walking around looking up like this. I tell people, my husband is 6'4". If he's got something to tell me, he needs to sit down. Cause I'm not gonna be standing up looking at him. You see how tall I am. So he needs to sit down so we can be eye to eye. But if we're doing things for children, we need to be on their level to see exactly what's what. Set a positive tone in the classroom. Children can sense when there's tension in the classroom. They can sense when there's tension between you and your coworker. They can sense when you've just gotten off the phone and somebody has told you something that has really ticked you off. Or a parent comes in and says something really off the wall. They can sense those things. So we want to make sure that the tone of the learning environment is, hey, I'm happy today and we're gonna make this work. And like I say, if it's some kind of issue or something, park it at the door and you're more than welcome to pick it up when the day is over, as you go through. You identify your strengths and focus on individual strengths. Like I said before, if you know as a teacher where your strengths lie and your co-teacher has a different set, just use those together. So we identify what those things are, and that helps, work them out better. And of course, always sharing responsibility, is a good thing, because it's not always the same person doing the same thing all the time, because what happens is you get tired. You get tired of doing the same thing. You get tired of going over and over, and if I'm the one serving lunch every day, then I'm the one serving lunch every day. If I'm the one cleaning up lunch every day, I'm the one cleaning up lunch every day. We need to switch up. And children need to see that, because they need all of us in all aspects, of what we're doing. And being part of a team requires that we're able to do that we're able to separate, those things and actually do more and more, together. You look at your likes and dislikes, with with each other. There are some things you might like and some things that your coworker does not like. I always have a joke, some children love to color, and you may be a fantastic person that loves coloring and sitting down with them. If I'm coming in to help you, don't ask me to sit down and color with children, because I don't like to color. I think it's an annoying thing to do, but I'll do something else, because that's not where my strength lies, as we go on. So we want to think about that. One of the examples that High Scope had given us one time is a teacher at one time had been suffering from migraines, and she was having difficulty because the lights were too bright within the classroom. So what happened is the co-teacher decided, I'm going to turn the lights down, and understanding where you are, in that sense of things, and help with the lighting, and that way she was supportive of her co-teacher's needs. So we want to think about, things like that. How can we best be, supportive, and do that for them? Another thing we think about is your teaching style. Everybody doesn't teach the same. Everybody's different. So when we are working with our young people, with our little of littlest, we are following their lead, because they aren't able to sit and attend for a long time for anything. We know that. You might have the greatest activity planned for them to do, and they look at you like, I'm not doing that. I want to go over here and play in the blocks. So, think about what's the best way that we can reach them. Are we doing enough singing? Are we doing enough talking? Are we doing enough having physical activities, as opposed to sitting down and doing things on pencil and paper, which aren't developmentally appropriate for them at this point? If they choose to want to do that, then that's fine. But working like that and looking at your teaching style, understand that we are following them. We are merely the facilitators. We're technically, yes, the facilitators, and following what things they enjoy. And that's one thing that High Scope always tells us, is that we build on children's interests. We may decide that there's something we want them to do, and they might not be interested in it. So if they're not interested, then we need to move on and need to understand that. So it's all about working together and understanding. Maybe somebody's teaching style is better at doing small group than doing whole group. Of actually doing individual work with children in dramatic play as opposed to doing some type of creative process art activity. You know, we want to be able to look at, so we strengthen those things. And then sometimes if you got that, I can look at my coworker and she can understand what I'm saying, whether it's a nod or, you know, you shift your eyes to go, maybe the co-teacher says, okay, I can see that this one over here needs something without having to call any name. You can kind of read each other's minds, you know, in a sense, you know, to go from there. The other part of that too is looking at where does everybody's experience come from? Not everybody comes into childcare, comes into early Head Start with the experience. So if you are paired with a seasoned teacher, then by all means, grab as much as you can from that seasoned teacher because they know what works. Then you develop your own style from the information, you know, that you get from there. So you blend those backgrounds with your knowledge, your skill set, and whatever classroom habits that you have. Those are the things that you build, you know, together, you know, as you go along, which is really, really good. So, you know, ideally, it's all about, as we say, teamwork, working together, working through things. And one of the things too that we talk about is talking through issues. If there is an issue, we don't leave it, we don't let it stew. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about why that activity or that lesson did not work today. Or what happened when you wanted to do this and the co-teacher wanted to do that, and you find that you weren't on the same page, much less in the same book. So how do we go back and look at those classroom issues and fix those, you know, as we move forward? Those are the things that are extremely important that we take into consideration. We also take into consideration our accommodations. Maybe there is a special need that we have to take into consideration. It may be physical, it may be cognitive, it may be whatever kind of things. We take those into considerations. If you are not able to sit on the floor and your co-teacher can, then the co-teacher can sit on the floor and you can sit whatever is comfortable that works for you. You know, that's how we want to be able to work the accommodations. But all in all, the most ideal thing that you want to do is to be able to have fun. So if you are not coming in to have fun, then we've lost the whole purpose of being there. We want the little people to enjoy the activities that have been set out for them. We want them to enjoy the materials that are there. We want them to enjoy the music, the stories, the conversation. All of those things are the most important things that we want them, you know, to be able to do. So let's talk about practicing teamwork, you know, as we look at this. Now, from this, we know that in order for you to be successful in your classroom, teamwork is important. Because you cannot have a divided classroom because children will pick up on that, you know, so we don't want to do that. Teamwork and communication go hand in hand. Crucial to the results, communication is the ideal thing. We have to be able to communicate everything that we're doing because it's a joint effort. A journey of continuous improvement. We always seek to improve ourselves and improve the work that we're doing with children. We may have done an activity that did not work. Then we think about how can we best improve it for the children in our care, because all of our children are different, and we cannot begin to assume that what I did last year may work for this group of children this year. So somewhere along the line, we're going to have to tweak those efforts, you know, as we go along. Everybody plays an important role. Do not think that the co-teacher is just the gopher in the classroom. The person that all they're going to do is serve the lunch, change the diapers, and sweep the floor. No, we want everybody to engage with the children, to have conversation with them, to sing with them, to do all kinds of things, and focus on the interests of, you know, what children, you know, would really, really like to do. Contributions. So you gotta be motivated to do what you need to do, and you gotta be able to handle the things that are involved, you know, within there. Work ethic. Work ethic on both ends, working together. We all have to have a good work ethic when it comes to working with the children that we serve. Making sure that we are covering everything. We are making sure that we are there for them, both physically and both mentally. Being able to meet their needs when it comes to food, meet their needs when it comes to their cognitive abilities. Being optimistic and being organized. You know, and then of course they say organized, clear instructions, expectations, roles, knowing, but optimistic about the fact that when I walk into this room, it's gonna be a great day. Responsibility, and also rules and boundaries, but recognition, continuous feedback, you know, like the geese, you know, it still goes back to encouraging each other. And of course, we have kindness on both ends, and then we have knowledge here, having the required knowledge to achieve the common purpose. So we all have to have those things, all of these things on both of these, and thank you so much for engaging in doing those. And it was so funny because y'all were acting like it was really a test. But all of these are still important when it comes to working with a team. These are the common things that we look at. This is what makes a successful team. And what you demonstrated today, once again, shows how you can make a successful team because you still work together, you know, and gave each other some feedback, you know, and nobody said to anybody else, well, that's the dumbest thing I've heard today. No, you didn't do that. You said, okay, use this word, try this word, you know, so that's what we're looking at, you know, when we're talking about, you know, that team. So all in all, this is what makes a successful team. And we're hoping that when you're in your classroom, that you remember some of these things with the children to be able to say, hey, we are a team and this is what we do. I am not a standalone island, but we work together. So with that said, anybody got any questions or anything, comments about what we talked about? So we're gonna be looking for teams when we come out to visit to see exactly how those things go. So with that being said, thank you very much, and I am done.